Since 1919, the Frederick Douglass Community Association has served to be an answer to the needs of the community. Since that time, we have organically developed programs, events, and partnerships to address the different needs based on the development of our community, city, and country. Our mission is to create a culture of equity and inclusion that transforms the lives of Northside residents and beyond through effective, efficient, and quality opportunities.
What was the best thing was being able to take it and build this organization from a social service focus group, to a service focus, with the primary services being job development and training, which we were provided job development and training services for all adults in Kalamazoo County. We did that, and mental health. We started our mental health program back in 1971, and how that program grew and developed, because again, is that we as a people, we're strong and we're hardy, but we have issues too.
Douglass kind of gave me my start, because when I finished at Kansas State University, I stayed there. But once I got there, I decided to stay work in the summer, because I had 9 brothers and sisters, and my plate was broke. So I just got me a job, worked for the Recreation Commission, and that's kind of, because that was the Douglass Community Center in Manhattan, Kansas, that I was director of, before I came here. And then I got there because Lee Pettiford, who was the director, he belonged to the NRA, National Rifle Association. And the director in Manhattan had said to me, why don't you contact the National Recreation Association? They might have something, and I did. And they sent me a notice that Douglass Community Center in Kalamazoo, Michigan was looking for an employee.
The fact that Douglass began during World War I in order to help black soldiers is well and widely known. You did know that, right?
Because the original thing, it was built for the military, for the soldiers. We were able to bring it into the community, and the community has done a whole lot. And it's been a blessing to the community, too.
Well, the Douglass was the center of community relations in the city, and was the only place that blacks could really meet and have any kind of social events. So it's important that we know that, because we still have segregation going on.
Another commonly accepted bit of information is that at first, Douglass was supported entirely by personal contributions, some small and some large.
100 years, to me, it speaks for itself. And it's not only in terms of the longevity, but why Douglass came into being way back in 1919 and why it still exists today. And it really exists to serve as people of color in Kalamazoo. So it's important that we recognize that after all this time, that Douglass, 100 years later, is still standing.
But in 1926, the community chest made Douglass a member, which then made his income steady and more dependable. For the next 10 years, Douglass was guided by Reverend Emory Barnes. Known too is that for its first 20 years, Douglass made its home in the 200 block of North Burdick on the upper floor of Turnverein Hall. Since the beginning, Douglass has been guided by a board and an executive director and various officials. Mr. Earl Mitchell was the first president and board chairman. He served for over 25 years. No relation to Earl, Pearl Mitchell was the first executive director, and a fine, talented, highly expert leader she was. Douglass began under the jurisdiction of 2 boards. One, mainly white, was called a board of directors, and the other, predominantly black, was an advisory board. In 1946, with a complete reorganization of the Constitution and bylaws, a major change was in fact that now one biracial board conducted the affairs of Douglass Community Association. One thing that black families knew was that the Douglass gave their community of all ages opportunities to learn by participating in activities otherwise closed to them.
All of the weddings and wedding receptions took place at the Douglas. In many cases, if they were not in the church, a lot of the receptions were at the Douglas. All of the basketball games. And see, we became an intercity group. All of the community centers in Battle Creek, Grand Rapids, and Lansing would get together with our basketball teams, young ladies and young boys, and play games, and we would travel back and forth. Our kids really loved to go to Lansing because they had some good-looking kids, males and females, and they just loved it. And it gave them a chance to see and meet different people in different cities, and some of them never even been downtown.
We had a basketball team, and we were playing Battle Creek because they also had a community center, and that was kind of a rival game, and little fights broke out.
I coached basketball here for 20 years, and I had some of the pleasure of meeting some of the greatest young men, and I still keep in contact with them now, like T.J. Buchanan, Doug Anderson, all those guys like that. I enjoyed coaching them and being around them and seeing what they're doing now in their life. You know, that's one of my greatest moments and pleasure, you know, that I think about quite often when I see some of these group of guys. You know, when I see the Damian Pattersons, when I see Greg Jennings, when I see Derek Jeter, T.J. Duckett, I see those guys. And for them to still call me up from time to time to ask me for advice or ask some questions, it just does my heart really well, to be honest.
Douglas represented education opportunities as well as fun and recreation. Civic pride also developed from being at the Douglas.
We did plays, you know, once a year we did summer camp. So it was just good for the community.
So, here's how it started. With the coming of World War I in 1914, Black soldiers were stationed at nearby Camp Custer. And the Blacks in Kalamazoo were very proud of these courageous young men and showed them the hospitality which limited means would permit. Yet, the well-intentioned families, churches, and barbershops were unable to provide for the needs of these young soldiers while off duty. It was at this time that the Douglas Center was born. Forrest Hill, Joe Pettiford, Otis Pratt, Taylor Burnett, and Joe Small would meet to discuss their concerns about the soldiers not having anything to do and loitering with the possibility of them getting into trouble with the police, stating, "Men, we've got to do something. There's nothing some of these officers would like better than to run in some of our boys." They spoke to men that included the Gilmores, Lights, and Upjohns to see if they would help. Eddie Dessenberg referred them to a War Relations Board to assist them as well. Other prominent white friends, both men and women, joined them as well as the wives of Hill, Pratt, Burnett, Small, and others. The result was that before many weeks had passed, our soldiers had a place to get together for rest, fun, food, all their own, named Frederick Douglass Center.
What we're most proud of is not in terms of about the Douglas, is that what the Douglas stands for, what it stood for, how it came into being, how it survived, and what it continues to stand for today. I mean, to me, this is one of, it's no longer the only one, but it is still one of the key organizations serving this community. There's no question about that. And Douglas has fulfilled his role, you know.
The naming of the Douglas came from Joe Pettiford and Forrest Hill, who were admirers of Frederick Douglass. They were proud of a man who was born in slavery with no opportunities, who loved freedom enough to escape and then spend the rest of his life helping less fortunate people. Douglass was a hero, and it was appropriate that a home for Black soldiers should be named for him. True to its name, the Frederick Douglass Community Association has educated, inspired, uplifted, and entertained people for all its days.
We're doing an outstanding job for the community. I mean, this place is for the community. We have a lot of free programs. We do a lot of stuff. I mean, you can come here and Boys and Girls Club. I mean, you can come here and get free food, hot and cold, a couple days a week. We have music classes here. We give away Pampers. We also have things that people just don't know about. Just come here and you'll get treated well. Whatever your need is, if we can meet it, we'll take care of you.
Today, the Douglas continues to be a hub of social organizations that take care of the needs of the community. Again, our mission is to create a culture of equity and inclusion that transforms the lives of Northside residents and beyond through effective, efficient, and quality opportunities.
I encourage people to come to the Douglas and see what we're doing right now. That's one of the things I think people need to do, old and young, to see what the Douglas have to offer and see what you can do here. And if you have time or you have a special niche, do some volunteer, you know, because at the end of the day, it's to me, it's always about the kids. I mean, it's always, no matter what goes on, it's always about the kids to me.
It's just so much that we did in the contact with people. And I thought, well, you know, you don't know who you touched. You know, that's the only thing. Only reason why I know this is that I've seen them later and they tell me, but at the time you don't know that's happening. But you put it out there, they can take it or not.